I would like to give you a tutorial on the new Snippet Manager and how it works. We are very excited to announce that we have added a community concept to the snippets in JCB. Previously, you could create your own snippets, and then if you would to create a custom admin view, a site view, a template or a layout, you could access these snippets through a drop-down. Let me demonstrate that quickly. So now in a site view, if I were to click on one of these snippets, you see it loads the snippet here. You can copy it from here and you can then place it in your code. And so it is possible to actually load many snippets. Now currently we're already looking here at the new snippets area. You'll see that now we have the type of the snippet first, then the name of the snippet, and then the library the snippet belongs to. Once you've selected the snippet, again it updates here the name of the snippet, the type of snippet, and the library it belongs to. And usually this library is a link that will open you to the actual documentation on that library's website of the specific snippet. So that's all as it used to be, nothing fancy, nothing much different. Yet there is a major change taken place, because now we have what is known as local snippets and then community snippets. We have actually enlarged the snippets area so that you can contribute to the community snippets and also import from those snippets that has been added to the community by others. Now how does that exactly work? Well, snippets that already exist are usually snippets that either I made or someone else, and they already have what is known as a contributor. The name of the contributor, its email address, web address, and so forth. So when you create a snippet, we will use your details to actually create this contribution. So if we open an existing snippet and you go to the contribution area, you'd see that there is names in these fields. If there aren't any names, then well, that means the update didn't do exactly what it should have done. And when you go to the snippets area where you get snippets, I'll show you that in a moment, there is a place for you to actually update all the contributor names, and so be sure to have their names actually in the database. The reality is these details should actually be in here already. If they are not, well, it's not a snippet you made, so you don't need to really worry about it. These details only really apply when you want to share a snippet or when you want to improve a snippet, and then we will add the correct details in anyway. So really it's not to be worried about. But here you'll see how the contributor details are dealt with. We are using your company details that is set in the global options. You could click this button to get there. Under the company tab of the JCB for the new snippets you create. You cannot change the contributor details of the snippet that already exist at this time via this area. So that's just a simple heads up. This area is really only for the management of the community snippets. If you're not going to be contributing, then this doesn't really even matter at all. What is important though is that your snippet be mapped the same way as the snippets in the community. For example, if the grid UIKit version 2 is called layout, then don't change it, because it will then behave like a new snippet and not like an existing one. You see, because the community uses the name, the library, and the type to build the file name. The file names, well, we'll look at that also as we go along, what I mean by a file name. For now, all you really need to know is that there are a bunch of snippets already in your component. These snippets were shipped with Joomla's component builder, so it means that really this is how it was by default. But we now have an area called Get Snippets. Now, if you are one of those who like to get your name out there and want to become, involved in the JCB community and have others know about you and so forth, well, this is the ideal time to do that. If you share a snippet, so let's say you created this snippet, for example, then you would click on share snippets, or you could take more than one. It doesn't need to be only one. You take and you click share snippets. This will then create a package. Let me show you. So we see that it's created a package. It's placed it in this folder. And you got a few helper tutorials here to actually get you going. So if you want to learn, well, this tutorial I'm making now will be this link here. And if you want to learn more about Git, it's this one here. And if you want to know how the forking is going to work, then it's this. And if you want to know how to do a pull request, it will be this one. And if there's any issues, you can open an issue on GitHub. So this really gives you sort of a few links and shortcuts to actually get involved in sharing snippets. Now what happens when you've shared a snippet? If someone clicks on get snippets, then they will see your name if that specific snippet comes up. So let me illustrate that. If we click on get snippets, it might take a moment depending on how many snippets are in the repository at this stage, because via Ajax it's getting all the snippets from GitHub and it's building a little page for you. So there we go. It's just loaded the whole bunch of snippets. The first view shows you all the current snippets in the JCB community snippets repository. You can go to this repository by simply clicking on this GitHub link here. It'll take you there. You can see which of these snippets are already in sync. It's called equal. If you click on this here, it shows you what equal means. In sync with your local snippet. So it has a little mark here saying it's a local snippet, and it is in sync. If you don't want to know more about when is a snippet considered equal, then click on this little button here and it will show you that, like I've said. Then if there is a snippet out of date, let's say someone contributed to the community on a specific snippet. Let's say this snippet here, someone saw, okay, if we open the snippet, they saw this little snippet and they thought, we could do better, and they improved on it. And then shared it with the community, then that snippet will end up in the out of date tab. If there is no out of date snippets, then it will be blank like now. But if there is snippets that are out of date, they all show up here. Then there is the new tab. Now the new tab, well, that could be a little bit misleading, because in this example that I'm giving you, I went and I deleted a snippet from my database. And since that snippet already exists in the community, the system then detects, okay, well, that snippet isn't here, so it must be new. That's how it basically worked out, that little sum. Now you could click on this get snippet and it will automatically, it says here, are you sure you would like to add this new JCB community snippet to your local snippets? You say, yeah, okay. And then it goes to GitHub, gets the snippet and moves it to your database. And boom, you're done. So now this snippet is no longer new. If you click here, you'll see it's no new snippets. It is now also been added locally. Then diverged snippets is where there is a discrepancy in both the creation date as well as the modified date. And then those snippets will show up here. And they can be updated in the same way. If you've made a change to a snippet in your local environment, and then you've realized, oh, that change hasn't been good, there's been a better, just to return back to the old community version, then you would come here to the head. I made a little change to this specific snippet, and it'll tell you that this snippet is ahead, and if you click on it, it'll show you what that would mean. You can then click on Get Snippet to really revert back to the old one, and that's what it will tell you. Are you sure you would like to update your local snippet with the older JCB community snippet? So you could say, no, I like my new snippet, I don't want to update it, and just ignore it. But if you want to go back, then there is this option to do so. If this is a good snippet, you might want to consider sharing it with the rest of us and that would be to actually do the sharing snippet and go through those tutorials in knowing how that works. There is sometimes a situation where a specific one of the community might be very enthusiastic and he contributes, let's say, 300 new snippets to the community snippets repository. Now that would mean that you want to click on every one of those snippets, get snippet, get snippet. That might be very tedious. So we added this little bulk tool. Now the bulk tool is able to detect whether there are new snippets and whether there are ahead snippets, or whether you just want to just update all of them with this just get all snippets. And so if there isn't any diverged or any outdated snippets, it will also not be able to do that. So here, instead of clicking it one at a time, you could just click on this and it'll just update all of them for you, and you're done. But if you're like me and you want to know exactly what's going on, you could go here, you could read the description. Okay, there's no description. See the usage, see how the snippet itself looks like, and if you really like what you see, you might even want to look at who contributed this snippet. And this brings up an important and yet interesting concept. We have decided that when you contribute a new snippet, your name and details will end up here, like I explained earlier when we looked at the contributor area. Yet when someone makes minor contributions to this snippet, we will not necessarily change or replace this contributor's name. Instead, we will let them show up in the blame view. So there is a view which is called the blame view. The blame view shows you who changed what part of the code and when. So whenever there is an improvement on any of the snippets, the GitHub repository tools will help us sort of show you who made those changes. So that's how they'll be recognized for their contributions, is via the blame. Whereas if you contribute new snippets to the JCB community, you will actually end up having your details show up here and have people be able to click on this link and actually go to the website you've put up as your website. So it's an ideal way of getting yourself out there in the JCB community, and at the same time sharing good snippets with the rest of us and make our life easier, I suppose. Anyway, so that is really looking at the Get Snippets community area. And we're very excited about this. We hope that this will really foster a lot of participation, and that it will improve JCB constantly, because as you know, snippets are used in these 4 key areas: custom admin views, site views, templates, layouts. And these areas are what really the customer sees, right? The one that uses the component. So we want to always be sure to have the latest and most stable snippets ready and available for everyone using JCB. So once you have actually imported the new snippet, you were able to see it at the end of your snippets. So this one is now the latest one we've actually imported. If you open the snippet, you'll see that the contributor details are already in place. And so these contributor details will be updated as you add new snippets. If for some reason these details are not in place, it will say dynamic value. Let me show you there. Just create a new one like this. So it says dynamic field. When you've created your snippet, I'm just going to do a simple test here to illustrate this. Okay, so it's obviously a test. And you click save. Oh, I missed the value. And you click save. It will first search the JCB snippet repository to see if there already is a snippet with this kind of a relationship between the name, the type, and the library. If it doesn't exist, it will go to your global area, like explained, and it will get your details and dynamically add it in to the snippet. So there we go. It obviously found my details and put it in there. So that is how this details get set when you create a snippet, a new one. It will fall back to your details if that snippet's name type and library relationship doesn't already exist in the JCB community. Now, if for some reason it does exist, it will actually take the initial contributor's details and add that in there. That's how it works at this stage. Maybe there is better ways, but for now this is how we will start, at least, and I'm sure it will evolve and change as we go along until we are able to actually satisfy all and everyone's needs. Well, I think that's enough of an overview of how everything works. So you've seen how to use the snippets in your components. You've seen how to start the initial steps of sharing a snippet. You simply select them like I showed you. Obviously, only when you've improved on it or whether you've created new ones will you ever want to do that. And then you click on share snippet. It gives you a package, and then on that, let me just show you again. On that, it has a few tutorials, like tutorial on forking the JCB snippets and tutorial on making a pull request. These two tutorials would be quite key for you to understand what would be the next steps in getting your snippets into the JCB community. Well, thank you for watching, and yeah, until next time, take care.